Alright, so welcome back to Pebble Rock Delivery Service. So for this video, we're going to start by talking about all of the various dice. There's 5 different dice in this game, 2 red, 2 green, and 1 blue. So how do these work? What's going to happen when you roll them? Now, let's talk about the green dice, because obviously this is the slower route, but it has more of benefits to your rolls, possibly, if you decide to take the slow and steady route, or should I say, the slow and steady. You'll notice we have a whale symbol on here, we have a wind symbol, and we have a fish symbol on this dice. When you roll the green dice, you're going to roll obviously both dice at the same time, and depending on what number you get is the amount of movement you're going to be able to move your boat around the board. However, each of these dice can do a variety of different things. And so, with that said, if you get this dice, the wind dice here, if you get this dice, then what's going to happen is it's going to double your movement. So if you rolled a 4 and the wind dice, well, now you get to move your boat 8 spaces. Isn't that awesome? So that's really cool, right? If you get the fish dice with this particular dice, which is really cool, right? The resource dice. Well, you then get to roll this blue dice here, this blue fish dice, which is known as the fish dice. And then whichever number you roll with this one is to indicate how many fish you're going to get on your turn. So you're going to get some fish. You start with 3 fish tokens over here. And so fish do a variety of different things, and we'll talk about what fish do momentarily and all that. But that's cool. You're going to get extra fish if you do that. So that's really cool too. And then if you roll Maisie here, the whale, she is going to show up on a space right in front of you, basically. She's going to show up on a space that's closest to you as possible that obviously isn't going to cover one of the 4 starting spaces. None of the characters that you come across, whether it's Maisie, the whale, whether it's Larry the shark, or whether it's Roberto the pirate, that's an octopus, doesn't matter who it is, none of them can go on the 4 starting spaces that surround Pebble Rock. So maybe there might be an occasion where one of these 3 characters cannot land on a space directly in front of you because, maybe there's one of these guys already there nearby, or maybe another character is, currently there too, so it can't actually go anywhere near you. And if that was the case, then nothing would happen. And if it was Larry the shark or Roberto the pirate, you'd be counting your lucky stars that, hey, my opponent was in the way, and so I didn't have to worry about it. Which is basically pretty cool, of course. But you do not want that to happen with her, because when she shows up in front of you, she can give you an extra cargo token. Okay, you start with 4 cargo tokens in the game, so right now it may not be very useful because she can't give you more than you can hold. Okay, so 4 cargo tokens is all you can hold. So unless you get an item card in one of these 3 slots, unless you get one of those that increases the amount of cargo to 5, until then, you can only have 4 anyway. Now, however, she isn't the only source of cargo you can get. If you're running out of cargo and you need more cargo for deliveries, right? Well, she is one of the ways you can get more cargo. But if you are really starting to run out of cargo, and maybe you're completely empty on cargo, you're going to need to go back to Pebble Rock and pick up a full delivery of cargo once again. It doesn't cost any extra turns or anything like that. Picking up, you just get it all at once. But you have to end your turn on Pebble Rock to fill up on cargo, because it's going to take you some time to get some cargo on board. But that's basically what she is going to do with those particular dice. Now, let's talk about the red dice and the danger dice. If you roll, for instance, Larry the shark here, this symbol, that's Larry the shark, he is going to come and pay you a visit. Now don't have to worry about this shark. He is only interested in fish. He has no taste for any other sort of flesh but fish. So thankfully, you don't have to worry about him coming and eating you or attacking your ship. But he will come and he will steal your fish. So if you roll this dice here, then you're going to have to roll this fish dice, and the number you roll is the amount of fish he is going to steal from you. If you don't have enough fish to feed him, don't worry. He's just going to take it all. You don't have to worry about him ripping up your ship or something like that, or tearing it from, limb from limb. You don't have to worry about any of that, but you will lose all your fish, okay? So what do fish do? Let's talk about that now. Fish. Fish do a number of things. You can get some extra victory points for fish at the end of the game. You can also use them for movement. There is no limit to the amount of fish you can have on board. So you can have as much fish as you want. So you don't have to worry about that, which is nice that you don't have to worry about that. But if you need like some extra movement spaces, you rolled this dice or the green dice for that matter, and the number isn't high enough, right? And you need more movement to make a delivery as soon as possible, which you might want to do, you can throw a fish overboard, and that will give you 1 extra movement per fish you throw overboard. So that's really cool. So that's what fish are really for. And so it's not super harmful if you lose some fish, for sure. But, that also means that your opponent, who probably has more fish than you now, will get to move more spaces than you, which means they'll be able to complete more deliveries than you. So having a visit from the shark is still going to be somewhat detrimental to your delivery service, for sure. Okay? So that's what's going to happen if you roll that dice. Now, you can also get lucky and just not roll anything on the danger dice. And then there's also this dice here, the jet stream dice. If you roll this, you're going to leave a token on the starting space that you start at your turn on, and it's going to go there. Now, you can't activate this token on your turn, okay? So that means you can't backtrack and try to activate this token. That means your opponent is probably going to get it to you first because his turn is next, and if he can make it to your space and go to this jet stream token and take it from you, he gets to activate it and get the benefits of this awesome ability. If you are the player that gets to activate the Jetstream token, then regardless, depending on which dice you roll, will be the dice you get to roll again. So, for instance, if you rolled this dice, you'll get to roll this dice again, and then go that many spaces. So you get to move some more. Or, for instance, if you roll to this dice, then you'll get to roll this dice again without having to worry about this dice at all, and move a whole bunch more spaces, right? So that is obviously really cool. For sure. So you definitely want to get those Jetstream tokens. And there's quite a few of them. I think there's 3, 6, 7, 8. I think there's 8 of these. So that's how many there can be on the board at any given time. So that means these could get activated more than 8 times because if they get utilized and then you keep putting new ones on the board, then obviously you'll be activating these a lot, moving around a whole lot, and completing deliveries left and right. So that's definitely a very useful thing to get. Your opponents will love you if you try to roll this red die because, after all, there's a chance that this could benefit them. So they'll love it if you decide to roll and take the risk and roll this dice. But that's not all. You can also roll this dice here, which is the pirate ship. Roberto, he'll come and pay you a visit. So if he comes and pays you a visit, and here he is. He's an octopus, by the way, and polar bear and parrot on board as well. If he comes and pays you a visit, then he's going to take a cargo token from your hold. He's going to consider it as payment for your visitation with him. Now, here's something that's really interesting with him. It's true that he will take your cargo away from you, and that could be very bad for you, especially if you're delivering a passenger. And we'll talk about passengers later, but you can also have passengers. There are some deliveries that require you to deliver passengers to certain islands, and he could come and possibly even take away your passenger, because after all, he doesn't have very many people on board his ship, and he could use somebody on board to, wash the deck, so to speak. So he could end up taking that away from you as well as a cargo token. If you have no cargo tokens on your ship, but you have, like, for instance, a passenger on your ship, and you encounter him, meaning you pass by him by movement or just simply because you rolled the danger dice and he paid you a visit. If one of those two things happened, then he'll end up coming to take your passenger away from you, and he'll get to show that passenger how cool it is to be a pirate. But that's what's going to happen, and we'll explain how sort of how the deliveries work with these particular tokens later. But that's something else that could possibly happen. So you don't really want a visit from this guy. But with that said, there on the board there are 4 locations where you might find some treasure chests. Now these treasure chests give you victory points, but only when you deliver this treasure chest to Roberto. When you deliver a treasure chest to Roberto, and you can either do it by movement, by passing through him on movement, you can make the delivery, okay? You can make the delivery by moving up to him and passing by and make the delivery and give this to him, right? And of course, if he does that, you're still going to lose a cargo token. So make note of that, if that's the case. Or you can roll the danger dice, and if he comes and, takes a cargo token away from you, he'll also take this lovely treasure chest as well. But that's okay, because these treasure chests are no good to you until he comes and takes them away, because once he does, you're going to get tons of extra victory points that are underneath this treasure chest. But you don't know how many those are until after you flip it over, and you can't flip it over until he's come and opened it up and taken the treasure from you. But that's cool. You'll get the victory points as sort of a reward for doing him a great service by giving him some much treasure, for sure. But that's sort of a benefit to encountering him. So that's really cool, obviously. Now, with that said, there are item cards in this game that can actually keep away the pirate and the shark. They're shark repellent, and you can install a water cannon onto your ship. Now, each item is a one-time use, but if you want to keep your fish or your cargo a little bit longer, if you have one of those 2 items on board, you might be able to keep them away at least for a little while. But basically, that's how that works. So fish, you get to move around, more spaces, cargo tokens you're going to want to deliver, obviously, but obviously someone will come and steal your cargo tokens away from you as well. So that's also a possibility too. But obviously that's how the dice are going to work. So that's pretty cool, right? So, and then of course, if you are in last place with victory points and you're not tied with anyone, you can roll the best of both worlds. You can roll this one, and you can roll this one, and keep the dangerous ones and the wimpy dice here out of your roll and just roll the good ones. But that's only if you're in last place. So that's really cool, and that's kind of how the dice are going to work, and that's how the fish work. Alright, so now let's talk about some of the other deliveries and how they work in the next video.